Good morning, everyone. Am I wired for sound? All right. So I'm going to start my actual story in my college days. I went to Binghamton University, back when we called it SUNY B. And believe it or not, I started out pre-med. I hated it. After trying to figure out what I was going to do, I decided to go back to my studies with an English Lit major. But I had so many of the credits under the sciences, I actually also have a minor in biology. And then I got to get one of my biggest dreams to come true. I got to move to New York City. I packed up everything I owned into a Ryder truck, the small one, and went to New York. Now, I'd always wanted to be in New York since I was in the 7th grade and went on a class trip. I loved the energy. And then I got my first job, my first kind of corporate job, and it was my worst interview ever. You don't have the experience I want, you don't have the background I want, there's no room for advancement, and if you're not here for at least 2 years, don't waste my time. Oh, and congratulations, you have the job. I did work up into a supervisor real soon, but then this happened. 9/11 was devastating on the city because of the loss of life and what it did to our country. But it also hit the economy really bad, and for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't working. 7 weeks of unemployment, not sure what I was going to do next. A gentleman by the name of Art Tadji took a chance on me and said, "You've been working with attorneys at Practicing Law Institute, and you understand how to talk to them as a customer. I'll teach you about records management, document scanning, imaging, e-discovery, a whole bunch of words I'd never heard before in my life." And I took this position working with Case Scholler and Pfizer. I was very quickly elevated to the role of area manager, where I now had 12 direct reports and 110 field staff. And I learned far more from these people than I ever taught them. Great records managers like Michelle Archer, Philip Boyce, Bill Boydston, who still work in record centers at law firms today. But it came time to move on from Forrest Edwards, and I went back to the corporate world to work at New York Life Insurance Company. I was in over my head. I was supposed to rebuild a corporate records management program. I'd been doing legal record center management, two very different things. So I decided I needed to get my CRM. I promised them if I got the job, I would get that CRM on my time and my dime, and I did it. And suddenly, I had my records management street cred. But I was still in over my head. Life insurance is a very complex business, and I didn't even know the beginning or the difference between a variable insurance policy and a whole life policy. So LOMA, the Professional Association and Education Organization for Life Insurance, I got every letter I could get, and I have more letters after my name than I have in it now. So I started to get a little bit better about what I was doing and felt better about it. And then my good friend and colleague, Maura Dunn, who had worked with New York Life in developing their program, said, "You really should apply for the Cobalt Award." So we did. And 2 weeks before the deadline was due, I went rushing into my boss's office and said, "John, we're not ready. Withdraw our application. We can't do this. We need more time." But we actually won. So then I had the opportunity to go around and talk to people and tell them about my Cobalt experience. And I started to get more confidence that I actually maybe knew what I was talking about. And so then I talked about other subjects, and other subjects, and other subjects, and became a regular speaker here at ARMA. While this was happening, I also decided it was time for more education. So I got my master's degree from the University of Oregon as part of their Applied Information Management master's program. I didn't want the traditional library sciences, I wanted something different. And it was difficult, it was all online, and I was dealing with people who were, on track to become CIOs. And because, I'm bored, I also got heavily involved with ARMA Metro New York City, both at the chapter level with committees, and ultimately became president of that chapter, and now I'm honored to be their immediate past president. And I got very involved with ARMA International, both through presenting and working on other activities. But it was time to make another change, and I took a position at UBS, a position I thought that was going to be wonderful. I wanted a number 2 job at a big multinational company so I could learn more, and that's what I got. But it was so hard. Now, I did learn a lot. I worked with great people like Richard Kessler, Philip Rather, and Anna Friedrich, and information governance as a discipline was coming into its own at this time. Finally, after all these years of saying I was doing RIM, there was a name for what I was actually doing: information governance. So, what did I do? I learned more. I got involved, and I was honored to be invited by ARMA International to help develop the Information Governance Professional Certification. I was invited to a committee and sat at people who I was awestruck by. Sandy Bradley, Julie Colgan, Galena. We all know who Galena is. And I was at the same table with these people. These people were now becoming part of my network, a network that I take great pride in. I get to work with wonderful people, and I always love to be able to have the ability to call someone up and pick their brain. Or if I've got a good friend that needs a connection, to make a referral. Or even better, refer someone I know who's wonderful to that great next opportunity. And my network got me my position at BlackRock, the one I have today. But I did have to warn them. It became obvious the job was mine to lose, so I said to one of the women who was interviewing me, "You need to know something. I'm a big personality. And if that's not what you're looking for, I can make some referrals." So here I have this opportunity to reinvent myself, to start again, to leave those things that haven't worked for me behind, and continue to build on the things that are working for me. And that's what I'm doing now. I've always tried to be an optimist in my career. I always tried to find something else. And there's a definition of optimism that says an optimist is someone who looks as a step backwards after several steps forward, not as a disaster, but more as a cha-cha. Who wants to dance with me?
Amazing job, Jason. And just let's be clear on this. Jason was not advancing the slides with the clicker. Those were going every 20 seconds, whether he liked it or not.
A couple times not.
Great job. This really does feel like a talk show set. So maybe I'll ask you like a talk show question. Like, so I see your latest project. You're working with Brad Pitt. Is he really as cute in real life as he is in the movies? No?
You know, we all don't age so gracefully.
Let's not put that to tape, so we'll cut that one out of it. So one of the things I love about Jason's story, and I think is a really powerful message for all of us, is that I think anybody with sufficient ambition and intelligence can do a good job at anything. But to do a great job, you really have to find your place. And I think what we heard from you is that throughout your career, you've taken these big risks. Mm-hmm. Whether it was loading up everything you had or you didn't have to move to New York, and then right up until your most recent job where you basically said, look, I mean, this is how it is, this is who I am. How do you know in your gut when it's time to take a risk like that?
I don't know that you do.
Yeah.
It's, I've had these great opportunities, and I've worked with such incredible people, and it's just we spend a lot of our times worrying about what other people think or what other people are going to say, and if I don't represent myself well at that meeting, or if I speak out of turn, I got news for you. They're going to talk anyway.
Right.
So be honest to who you are and what you believe in, and if you need to stand up and go toe-to-toe, respectfully, with the CEO of your company, then do it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the other lessons here too, and I think that's really insightful. I think one of the other lessons is that, look, I mean, you're at a point in your career where you've invested in it, so you know that if push comes to shove, you have value in this marketplace, and you can find a place that is going to be a good fit for you. And I think that's one of the rewards, right, of investing in your career. So speaking of that, I mean, what's next for your career? Where do you see you going, in the next 10 years, 15 years? What's the path for you, if you could guess?
I didn't even think I'd be here,
quite
honestly. I remember, and we were talking about this at the table as we were preparing, I remember my first conference was actually San Antonio, so it's going to be nice to go back. And I sat out in one of these sessions like this, looking at these people on the stage going, wow, I could never do that. I could never be one of those people.
Yeah.
Look at the company they work for. Look at the projects they're working on. Ugh, I don't even know if I understand my retention schedule yet.
Right.
So for me to try and say what I'm going to do in 10 years, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I hope it's going to be just half as exciting as challenging as what I'm doing now.
Well, keep doing it. It's worked so far.
Thanks.
So thanks very much, Jason. Great job.